Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Ignorant Sports Talk. I am Curtis Pankey, alongside Figs and Fro, and we are going to do a little bit of deep diving into the NBA and into some of the protests that are still undergoing in the United States and around the world. So to start off on a more serious note, because this affects all of us, and in particular where Figs is in Atlanta. Sadly, we have another police shooting of a black man, and it has sparked more protests, reactions, when violence like that wasn't even necessary. The man's name was Rayshard Brooks. He was shot outside of a Wendy's, I believe, while he was running away from cops. And it has led to, I believe the officer in question has been at least fired. Hopefully they press charges further. And the Atlanta police chief has also offered her resignation in the wake of everything that's been going on. So I'll open it up to you guys first. Just I guess, Figs, how, as someone who lives in Atlanta, how are you dealing with all of this again with Rayshard Brooks?
When I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I was very enraged when I saw it because I used to drive for Uber. You know what I mean? That Wendy's that he got shot at, you know, I used to be at Wendy's a lot. I've ordered food from there plenty of times. I've actually picked up employees from there, dropped them off to their houses, you know what I mean? So I'm very familiar with that area. It's a predominantly black area for the most part, you know what I mean? But it's pretty chill over there, you know what I mean? There's never too much going on, you know what I mean? So when I saw, I was just kind of like, whoa, you know what I mean? I was very enraged, especially when I saw the video. I mean, obviously there was some tussling going on, but you got to think about it, you know what I mean? Homie was he was a little intoxicated, and I don't know if you saw the dialogue that went on. He was basically telling them, like, listen, y'all could take my car, I'll walk home. Like, I just don't want to, you know, be charged for anything, you know what I mean? And they tried to cuff him, which in that instance, I don't feel like they were wrong for trying to cuff him. And, you know, he was fighting. Obviously, the motherfucker didn't want to go to jail, you know what I mean? He was fighting, you know what I mean? It was his daughter's birthday. So, yeah, he was fighting or whatever, but my whole thing is, you know, it's two of y'all and there's one of him. So obviously y'all not doing y'all job correctly if you can't subdue him, you know what I mean? So he's beating your ass, you know what I mean? Apparently he takes the taser, which is okay, that's cool, you know what I mean? But he ran, you know what I mean? And this is a carrying state. So for people that, you know, carry guns, one thing they teach you is, let's say somebody breaks on your property, you know what I mean? You can't shoot the person unless they're coming towards you. If they're running away, you have to let them run. You know what I mean? You can't harm them unless they're coming towards you. If you were to shoot somebody and the bullet is in their back and you try to go fight that in court, you know what I mean? You're going to get a big fat L because the person was clearly fleeing the scene. You know what I mean? So this guy was clearly fleeing the scene. You know what I mean? So I feel like the cops should have just chased him, you know what I mean, and tried to get him to the ground. Shooting wasn't necessary at all, you know what I mean? So watching that video just shows me they clearly abused their authority once again, you know what I mean? And the Atlanta police chief resigning shows that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, you know what I mean? Because the woman damn near had a heart attack. Like, they show her, there's a video with her on the call with them, and she's like, yo, like, this was no, shooting them wasn't necessary at all. You know what I mean? She's telling that to the officer. So just, I guess she resigned because it looks really bad on her part. You know what I mean? She didn't want to be a part of that. You know what I mean? It's a very, very complex situation. Obviously, they burned the Wendy's down last night. You know what I mean? Protesters shut down the highway. So, yeah, there's going to be a huge uproar in Atlanta, at least for the next few days or so.
Yeah, man, it's you know, I saw the article, I read it. I didn't watch the video. I'm at a point right now what to me is very traumatizing watching these videos and seeing men and women of color in their final moments. So I try not to watch it. But it's a very unfortunate situation, but it's also something that we've seen like far too often, like far too often, and I don't even know what to say anymore, man. You know, like I always feel like these type of events have been going on for a number of years. The only difference I would say is like within like the last 10 years, it's actually been more of these cases have been documented. You know, they're actually being filmed, and like, you know, I think this particular year, um, people uh, who are not black, they're actually being their eyes are being more exposed to a day in life of a typical African American, and it's sad, you know. A regular stop with the police, you know, what I mean, can really, I mean, it's a fearful interaction for us of color or whatnot. And I just remember, I think it was like a week or two ago, Killer Mike and T.I. was just saying how, you know, Atlanta had made strides, and you know, they weren't doing as bad as other cities in America and things of that nature. And you know, the police force is predominantly black and things of that nature, but even still, we still have these little mishaps. And within the past like couple of weeks, it's been like the worst time for it because there's been so many other things that's been going on too. And it's just like, which each event that goes on, I feel like it's just like fanning a big flame. And you know, I'm all for the protest, but I really just I'm at a point where it's just like I'd rather have um a solution to these problems. You know, I'm just at a point now. It's like, how many more people are we going to have to see lose their life before everyone's on board? And it's like, you know what? Clearly, the way that things are being handled, the process, the force, just everything, we need to just like scrap it and just start all over. You know, and it's unfortunate, man. It's very unfortunate. I was reading that he had, I believe it was, 3 daughters and a stepson, and my heart goes out to them. You know, my heart really goes out to them. And the worst part about it is that they're going to see their dad's final moments. You know what I mean? And that's extremely traumatizing. You know, and yeah, man, it's just really unfortunate. It's like extremely unfortunate, and I feel for the family. I feel for the community. I'm feeling it myself, you know, and I don't know, as of lately myself, I had to unplug from social media because it's just like, you know, tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. It's like you don't even get a time to like, you know, mentally recover from just everything that's going on. So, you know, it's a sad situation altogether.
Yeah, most definitely. You said something very important just now. You basically said, you know what I mean, the city of Atlanta, and T.I. and them were talking about it. That's probably the most disappointing part to me. You know what I mean? Because I've been living here for the past 3 years now. I've met a lot of cops out here. You know, I've had a couple of interactions with them. And I've learned, like you said, the police force is predominantly black out here. There hasn't been a lot of, you know, police-related, you know, shootings of black men, especially unarmed black men. It hasn't really happened. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't notice Atlanta referred to as like Wakanda. And the reason why is because it's considered a black man's paradise. You know what I mean? There's not too much for a black man to be worried about out here, as opposed to being somewhere like, I don't know, Indiana or Minneapolis, where these types of things happen a lot. You know what I mean? Like, this hasn't happened in Atlanta in quite some time. Like, I want to say years. You know what I mean? So I can understand why a lot of people are disappointed, including myself. You know what I mean? And I do feel like that's the reason why the police chief resigned, because she's probably like, what the hell? Like, we didn't teach you this. Like, this is not, I mean, I mean, in other places that might not be the case, but in Atlanta, I know for sure that that's not the way they get down. So I'm extremely disappointed. You know what I mean?
You know, the one thing that baffles me, and I'll just end on this note, is that with police forces, right? There's so many police officers who have complaints and cases against them where they did not execute their job properly, where they did something that they were not trained to do, and they still have their jobs. Now, the way I look at it is like that these are the people that's supposed to serve and protect us, the civilians. If we, if you, if you had a public transit line, right, bus driver, and you had one who got into a horrific car accident, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't even have his job or his license anymore because he's endangering the life of others with reckless driving. You know, they'll be quick to take your license away and take your job away, but these police officers do get like multiple chances, you know, like they resigned, they wasn't fired. It's like, why is that? You know, like I feel like there's not enough consequences for someone who screws up their job so badly. You know, if this was any profession and you did something you were not trained to do and someone was harmed, if not someone lost their life, you'd been out of a job in a heartbeat and you will have like a ton of cases dumped upon you. So it's just like, there's a broad disparity in terms of how job performances are like performed and failed, and the consequences about that within like a police force and every other aspect of America. You know, if you're a doctor and you do something that you are not trained to do and someone loses their life, they're taking your license away. You'll never be able to practice medicine ever again.
Yeah.
They need to have that same energy with these people in power, you know what I mean? And I'll just leave it at that, you know.
What's sad about that is that in some cases they actually are doing what they're trained for in a way, because some cops undergo what's called like warrior training, I believe it is. The Patriot Act, Hassan Minaj's Netflix show does a good job covering this, where there's certain like training, whatever you want to call it, training programs or courses where they're taught that pretty much everybody that you deal with is like an enemy or a threat, basically. And like if you don't react first, you're the one that's going to be hurt or injured or something like that. So in some cases, some cases, sure, they're not doing training, but also in some cases they actually are, because they're taught to be the ones that are being the like aggressor, or the one that's trying to be the one that's in charge, kind of a thing. And it doesn't de-escalate things; it escalates things. It's not.
Yeah,
it's the opposite training you're looking for simple stuff that shouldn't lead to somebody dying over.
I mean, that type of training to me would seem like it would be fit if it was more like war combat, like overseas war, things of that nature, or even in like working inside of like a prison facility, you know, where, you know, you're working with guys, you know, who have life, they don't care about anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, then that makes sense. But you're dealing with civilians. You know, you're not dealing with enemies of the state, or, you know, you're dealing with civilians that you're supposed to serve and protect. You know, that type of training seems something like it's just, I don't know, it doesn't seem fit for citizens that you're supposed to be helping and serving. You know, if we're at war with terrorists or something, that's ideal if you're dealing with terrorists. Yeah, definitely. But civilians who pay taxes for you to like keep them safe, no, that type of training to me doesn't, I'm whoever idea that is, that was like, you can use that training with civilians, they need to lose their job, because that doesn't, like you said, is only going to escalate things. And when you have that type of, when you approach people with that type of energy, or community with that type of energy, you know, then it makes more sense why people are running away from you, because they don't feel safe. How am I supposed to call you when my life is in jeopardy and you just arriving to the scene? You're supposed to be coming to my aid. I could be the one, you know what I mean, on the worst side of things. You know, it's like a constant fear for certain people when police officers come around, if they have that type of training. Not all of them are bad. I'm not saying that. But for those of them who do have that type of training and they approach everything as the aggressor when they're supposed to be de-escalating things, it's only going to be a recipe for disaster, you know?
Oh yeah. And as far as people running, I mean, I can understand it, especially out here in the South. You know what I mean? Like I said, Atlanta's police force is normally pretty good, but outside of Atlanta, you got a lot of places where, you know, I have a friend. She was actually arrested for a suspended license, quote unquote. You know what I mean? And she had to spend a weekend in jail. It actually ended up turning into a week. You know what I mean? And she was telling them like, yo, like, my license is not suspended. I actually took care of it. I did everything. And he was like, yo, well, it says here that your shit is suspended. So you just got to go to jail. You got to eat that. You know what I mean? And she was in jail. You know what I mean? It's not like New York where there's central booking, whatever. You know what I mean? You get to see a judge and then you leave. It's a little different down south. You know what I mean? So she was in jail for like a week with all types of people. You know what I mean? And she's not even that type of person. She don't got no criminal background, none of it. You know what I mean? And come to find out, her license wasn't suspended. They made a mistake. You know what I mean? So they just came to her and was like, yeah, your license actually wasn't suspended, but you're free to go. That was it. No apology. No, you know, miss, I'm so sorry we did this to you. You know, is there any way? No. They said, yeah, your license is actually not suspended, but, you know, you're free to go. After her sitting there for a week, you know, God knows what she went through. You know, and it just goes to show you, like, the training that they do and whatever they do, like all of that stuff, like you said, it needs to be scrapped. There needs to be like a new blueprint, period. Because, like, obviously the one that they're following is not working. It's not working.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, man.
And what stands out with this one also is that, like, they did a sobriety test on him and he was intoxicated, and you should know that if you're dealing with somebody who is drunk or high or something, that they're not going to be of the clear mind to like obey and like be as cooperative as somebody that is sober. And like they did the test beforehand and it's clear that, you know, that he had a few drinks or whatever it was, and yet they still fire shots at a guy who is not of clear mind and
exactly
is not he's running away. He's not posing a direct threat. I'm sure that's going to be used as a defense case because he had the taser and stuff like that, but he was running away and like I think he shot the taser and it was like it didn't hit anybody obviously, but like he had his back to them. He was running away. He wasn't a direct like threat, and even if it's whatever it is, a DUI or a public intoxication thing, that again it just doesn't warrant a death sentence. It's not a death sentence crime.
To add on to what you said too, is like the fact that he fled the scene, but he also left his car, his registration, all that there. They all had his information. It's like, we know where to find you. You can run away. You don't have to die tonight. You left your car.
Yeah.
Your license, your registration. We know where you live. We have your plates. Like, you can run away. You're not going to get far. We know where to find you. You know, exactly. It wasn't really like, to me, that's just really unnecessary. Like, he left the car. Everything you need, there's prints there. Like, you can find him. Fine. He has a taser. He's not going to hurt nobody.
Also, even if he's running away, as a sober cop, two cops, you should be able to catch a drunk guy running away from you.
That's my point exactly. My point exactly. So that, to me, just shows me there's a lack of empathy. There's a lack of humanity. It's also just a lack of compassion. To me, that's unwarranted. You know, to me, it just seems like that's just pure prejudice. You know what I mean? To me, it's just like, that's just way too much. You know, that was like beyond necessary, you know, and a man lost his life because of it. To me, if I was in that situation, you know, it takes a lot for me it would take a lot for me to actually draw my gun on someone. You know, just my nature in general, I would try to de-escalate things as much as possible because I want to get home. I want you to get home. That's my mentality. Now, for me to actually, you know, shoot someone in the back while they're running away from me, if I'm going to do something like that, then that just means like psychologically, I must feel like I'm above that person or I'm above this system, because clearly I'm not fearing any consequences for the, for my actions. You know what I mean? Being a police officer, there's going to be eyes on you. There's a certain level of merit that you have to hold. And, yeah, you're in a tricky situation, but you're here to serve and protect. You're not here to actually kill anybody. That's not really what you're supposed to do. There might be situations, in certain situations, where you may have to, but that wasn't one of them. So the lack of regard for life, to me, just shows that a lot of these police departments need to actually start doing some more thorough investigation when hiring these officers, because a lot of them coming in, for me, I think just already need a reason or looking for a reason to actually put down certain people. So I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
It's scary because even when like over the past few weeks, like every cop knows that like the cameras are on them and everything they do is being recorded, and we haven't seen any, if at all, restraint whatsoever in any situation, whether it's against protesters or if it is actual people that are being stopped for certain things. There's no restraint whatsoever.
None. To me, that just shows it's like, I'm gonna be good regardless whether this is recorded or not. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna, it's gonna be a little slap on the wrist. I might be asked to resign, but I'm still going to have my pension and all that.
It reminds me. Have you guys ever seen The Departed? The
Departed, yes, with Leonardo.
Yeah. So
yes.
what the scene that stands out for me in that movie is when DiCaprio's being interviewed for a place as I think it's a state trooper, and he's in front of like Mark Wahlberg and I can't remember the other actor's name right now. It's gonna bug me. Where they ask him, "Do you want to be a cop or do you want to pretend to be a cop?"
The cop. Yes.
It's an honest question. Everyone wants the the badge and the gun and stuff like that, and that. I see that scene resonates with a lot with like every single thing, where it's like, do you actually want to serve and protect, or you just want to be a big shot with a pistol on your holster?
Exactly. Yep.
You know what's crazy? Every other job that you're dealing with, where you're dealing with people, I'll use customer service as an example. They train you not to lose your temper. They train you like, yo, people are going to say all types of crazy shit to you. You're going to get cursed out. You're going to have to deal with attitudes. You're going to have to deal with this. But you must keep your composure. You must, you know what I mean? I feel like as police, these motherfuckers don't keep their composure. Like, you know what I mean? I've been in situations where I've said something as simple as like, I remember I got pulled over one time and, the cop disrespected me for being an Uber driver. He was like, yeah, you're just an Uber driver. He said something on that. I was like, yo, why are you going to disrespect how I get my money? Like, what if I said you was just a cop and you only make X amount of money? This motherfucker got mad as hell. You know what I mean? He started writing a bunch of tickets just because. I'm like, bro, like, all I did was use your analogy on you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they abuse that authority to the second power. It's like, you already have a gun on your hip. You already have a nightstick on your hip. You already got mace in your pocket. So I can't verbally speak my mind. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, every other job, they train you. Like, you're going to deal with all types of assholes, but you got to keep your composure, and you got to, any other job, you lose your composure, you get fired. You know what I mean? Like you said, Fro, with cops, they lose their composure all the time, and it's just like, oh, well, he was following protocol. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
It's not like a firefighter comes to your house and then like halfway through the fire they get overwhelmed and say, "Screw it, I'm leaving," or "I'm gonna just keep stoking the fire," or like, or if a paramedic comes to a situation, they're trying to treat somebody and they're like, if someone's resisting, they're like, "All right, that's it. You know what? You're on your own. I'm out of here. All right."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like any other, like it's not like one first responder's job is more stressful than the other, right? Because God knows, paramedics and firefighters see crazy things on a daily basis also, and you don't see, or not as frequently at the very least. It's not like, firefighter helps burn down house or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like, and it's like I think we've all seen it, the Chris Rock bit where it's like, it's not like when you fly, it's like, oh, one out of every 10 pilots crashes or something like that. It's like, oh, it's okay. It's just a few bad apples in pilots.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, you want everybody to have a safe landing when you're flying
Exactly.
a plane. But I guess we can, I don't know, unless you guys have anything else to add, we can segue to how this is affecting the broader community and people in the NBA. With Greg Popovich in particular, he's taken a giant stand against. Well, he's been doing this for a while. He's taking a stance against like the president and anybody who supports his policies, but also he's taking some shots at the NFL, which is new for him. I think. I don't think he's ever acknowledged the NFL.
Yes, he should. Someone has to do it.
We will cover that right now. So the call is going to end in 5 minutes. So I'll stop this and then we'll I'll do another call and we can record that one.
Okay.
Sounds good, because we only have like 5 minutes here and that's not going to be enough time. So let me stop this and I'll start a new call.
Okay.
All right. Give me a second here.